Hi, and welcome to Flourish Flow. I'm your host, Amy Rohrer, owner and yoga teacher at the Yoga Hut here in Tillsonburg, here to help you connect and integrate the dots to true wellness on your healthy living journey. If my own wellness journey has taught me anything over the last 10 years, it is that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to flourishing. So we're going to chat about some of those tools that can empower us throughout the show and this season. And on today's episode, we are joined by the lovely owner and educator at Woodfield Learning, Sara Carrigan. She is a certified teacher, currently homeschooling her own 2 children along with others. She's been self-employed for almost 10 years and more recently moved outside of the big city with her husband and kids out into the country in Oxford County. Their hope was to slow down and rediscover the simple, mundane joys of life. They are inspired by nature, living with the seasons, and learning new skills together as a family. So thank you, Sara, for joining me here today. Really happy to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I think this is such a cool platform for local wellness enthusiasts to get together to share things that can make us feel better about life.
Yeah. And, we've known each other for a long time, but we met just briefly. We were doing our teaching English as a second language. It sometimes feels like yesterday, but it's crazy how long ago that was. But we stayed connected and, we both went and taught abroad. And then I've seen your journey as an educator just continue to blossom. And it's really cool, like where you are now and like what you've created. So can you tell me a little bit about your journey and then what led you to out in the country and starting Woodfield Learning?
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess kind of after my undergrad, I spent a lot of time traveling and teaching my way around the world, really keeping my life super busy, trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do with my days, with my life. After returning back to Canada, I finished my teacher's college, met my husband, we bought our first home, and surprise, there were no teaching jobs anywhere. And so after some soul searching, decided to open up my own homeschool, where I started with preschool kids and have worked my way up to a more alternative way for kids to learn kindergarten. We enjoyed the hustle and bustle of the city. We had our children, and then the pandemic hit. And as sort of the world shifted and slowed down and pivoted, we were as well. And we were kind of reassessing the life that we wanted for ourselves as individuals, as a couple, and then for our family, for our kids. And we realized that, the slowness and the stillness felt really good. It really resonated with us. And while we had put so much value on the hustle and the bustle and the grind and working really, really hard to get to where we were, and that's really important. I still feel like it's really important. There just wasn't the same value placed on rest and stillness and quiet and searching and balancing and recalibrating our nervous systems. And I just felt like that was feeling a little bit, it just aligned more with what our values were. So that brought us out of the city. And right now we're living just outside of Ingersoll, where we're, homeschooling our own kids as well as a few others, and learning some more self-sustainable skills. And we really enjoy learning together with our kids. We have some chickens and learning how to garden and grow our own food. And it's just feeling like we've given ourselves a bit more space to cultivate the life that we really want instead of comparing to, societal values or what our friends are doing, because we're all different. And like you said, it's what makes me feel well and balanced isn't what's going to make someone else feel well and balanced. And that's kind of where we are now.
Yeah. And you've got so many great resources and ideas and activities that you share. Like, I've never been to your space, but it feels so nurturing and really inspired by nature, being outdoors, like a simpler rhythm and way of life. So I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about like the alternative kindergarten program, homeschooling, because I remember when we chatted, what really stuck with me is like lots of people might want a slower pace for their children, but homeschooling is not for everyone.
100%.
It takes a certain person to be able to do that. So you're kind of creating this opportunity for parents who might want to homeschool to have an alternative for their kids to go and have a different learning environment for those first few years that kind of aligns with kindergarten, but you're doing it a little differently.
And you definitely don't need to homeschool to be able to find a way to find stillness in your day or in your, your daily rhythm, to find time to be outside.
Yeah.
For us, honestly, it was me figuring out what was bringing me a lot of joy. I feel like you can, sometimes as parents and as mothers, we're working so hard for our kids that we forget to step back and nourish our own selves and what brings us joy. So for me, I found I was the most balanced when I was outside, getting my hands dirty, learning alongside of my kids. This was never the plan to homeschool, but the more time that I spent with my kids, the more I wanted from my kids. And this isn't necessarily going to be our life forever. But for now, it just feels right for us to be outside and then invite other families along. It's really been a fun way to get to know people in our community. We had built such a strong community in London with the homeschool. So now coming into Ingersoll, it's been a really beautiful way to connect with other sort of like-minded families who some of the kids do go to traditional schooling a couple of days a week. And they've just found that by pulling them once or twice a week, that's how they're finding balance in their life. Or, school ends at 3:30. So then we, go for a walk at the end of the day, or just finding ways to promote, just slowing down within your family in those little small pockets of time that you might have. Yeah. I know most people do work a 9 to 5, and what Andrew and my husband and I have realized is that it's not without some sacrifices. In order to stay home with my kids, I'm not working a traditional 9 to 5, which means that I'm working, a second job a couple nights a week because stuff's expensive and everybody needs to eat and we all need gas. So, it's just been a way for us personally, just giving ourselves a bit of space to figure out what our family needed to feel a little bit more well.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, like you hit the nail on the head, is really assessing what would work for your family or what could create more of that balance. Yeah. And for some, it might be like a program like yours, or just saying, hey, a couple days a week after school, we're going to go to a park, really just kind of starting somewhere. And figuring out, building it from there.
Exactly. And I think that there's a way, what we've realized is we can be really productive without feeling really chaotic and without feeling like we're, our nervous systems are just constantly feeling like there's, over-scheduling ourselves or overextending ourselves, which is really easy to do, especially when we lived in the city. It's so easy to say yes, yes, yes to so many things without thinking like, do I have the time to do that? And what will I be giving up for myself or for my kids if I do overextend myself in that way? And what would I be gaining if I just left that pocket of time free in my day to just see what
you feel like doing.
What I feel like doing, or like, and maybe it is just for me. Maybe it's just drinking my coffee while it's hot. Yeah. Leaving for work 5 minutes early so that you can get to work and not feel so rushed. It can sometimes just be little small things that you adjust in your day to just feel a little bit more
grounded, at ease. Yeah. Well, we're going to talk more about that, and you're actually going to share some tips with us for people after this break. So stay tuned. We'll be back with Sara shortly. Welcome back to Flourish and Flow. We're joined today by Sara Carrigan, and she is the owner-educator at Woodfield Learning. I was hoping that you could share some of your tips. Like you said, you didn't just land out in the country, spending more time in nature, finding a slower rhythm, like all in one day. It took time to kind of ease or yield your way into that life. And we talked about that in our chat before the show, of just like, what were some of those things that you and your husband had to talk about, to lean into. So I'm going to pass it to you, kind of sharing your top tips to empower families to slow down and, you know, find that more gentle rhythm in life.
For sure. Yes, like you said, like it didn't happen overnight, and we still have open conversations about what we want to do when we grow up. Like it's still like an open conversation. For us, we were actually really inspired by the minimalist movement. So I remember one night we were going to have a glass of wine and watch something on Netflix, and this new documentary on minimalism came out. And we were like, what's this? I've heard of it before, but what is this? And just the idea of, you know, thinking about the things that you have in your home or that you're bringing into your home, and being able to let go and declutter the things that don't particularly align with where you are at in life, which I feel is really hard sometimes. But as you go through the ebbs and flows of life, we found that things that maybe felt really important at one time weren't exactly aligning with our life in terms of like things from high school that felt like everything to you when you're, you know, coming out of high school, and even just family heirlooms that you don't want to let go of it because someone that you loved gave it to you. And it's nice to hold on to some things, but also just to make space, physical space, but also just space in your brain to be able to move forward with other things. Yeah. So decluttering, I also think the Marie Kondo movement was coming out at that time too, where, you know, at the heart of it was keeping the things that spark joy in your life and like letting go of the rest. And so that was like our big thing in that time of our life, is we were just like, what do we want? What do we like? For us, we love our books, we love our records. It was actually quite easy to let go of a lot of stuff and, you know, bring them to women's shelters, thrift them, sell them, have yard sales, give them to people who are in a different stage of life as us. Maybe they're just starting out. And so by kind of clearing out our home in some way, we actually had the space to focus on other things. And I felt like I wasn't constantly thinking about, you know, the clutter or, you know, bumping into things. It just felt really good. So that was like I guess the first tip that helped us was just being really intentional and thoughtful of the things that you're surrounding yourself with and also what you're bringing into your home. For us, a big thing that we had to do in order to slow down and simplify our life was really keeping on track of our budget and living within our means in a really big way. Yeah. From there, we had this space to we actually created vision boards and we were manifesting the life that we wanted. And I remember feeling like that was such a silly, like kind of a silly thing to do, like manifesting, what is this? But there's actually really nothing silly about being really intentional about the life that you want and being really thoughtful about it. Yeah. And so we actually created individual vision boards, things that we wanted to do for ourselves independently, then together in our partnership, and then for our future family. And, you know, what I'm really good at, you know, the day-to-day stuff, and my husband's really good at like thinking long-term. So together we were able to create this really beautiful life. And without setting really concrete goals, there's just no way that we're going to get to where we needed to be. And so, yeah, I think for us, it was just being really intentional and mindful of what it is that we wanted. Being able to, you know, have this space in our minds to actually think about what we wanted from our life. Yeah, and kind of know where you're heading. The trajectory is, and are we, you know, let's do this together. So if we're, you know, you would like this interpersonally and I would like this, and we want this together, we want this for our future family, how do we get there? Yeah. And it's been really cool to see, like looking back on it, how many things have actually come for us, just from like being really thoughtful about what it is that we wanted. And then finally, something that's been really big for us is rhythm over routine. And I didn't really know the difference between a daily rhythm over routine. When I think about the word routine, it's very rigid and it doesn't really leave a lot of room for spontaneity or for things that, that came up today and that would bring me a lot of joy to do that. But unfortunately, I've packed myself from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed, and there's just no space for that. And so I was introduced to the term like a daily rhythm, which is it's like a very a flexible, predictable pattern that you go about in your day, leaving room, little pockets for freedom, little pockets to drink that hot coffee, read that book, call that friend, go on that walk, so that you're feeling like you actually did something for yourself when you go to bed at the end of the night. And for us, we're really, we're guided by, there's going to be these anchors in your day, obviously, your appointments, work, sleep, bringing your kids to school, eating, daycare. There are these things that anchor your day in place, like the non-negotiables. But by not overcommitting and by not overscheduling ourselves, all of a sudden we had this freedom that we didn't have before when we were saying yes to so many more things than we probably should have. And I'm feeling by the end of the day a little bit less chaotic or a little bit less like overstimulated. Still a work in progress. And some days are easier than others. But even if just once a week you clear your schedule from, your afternoon on, or your kids don't need to be in 5 extracurriculars every week. Like for every family, it will look different. Some families thrive on that chaos. For me, and maybe it's just the jobs that I have, I need a little bit more quiet in my day, and just knowing that about myself has really helped.
Yeah. And I think, again, you hit the nail, is like some families might thrive, but I think really checking inwards of like, am I thriving or am I tired? Am I stressed? Am I irritable? Like those are all signs that we are probably a little overstimulated, or our nervous system needs, some love, some attention. Sure. And nothing for me feels better than seeing a little bit of space on my calendar, especially, I'm self-employed. So I get that of like, I really create my own rhythm, and I can fill it up as much, or I can be intentional with taking some extra space in the day. And that's when like you get to play, or like read a book, or go eat your lunch outside, or cook. For me, it's like spend more time like preparing a fun meal for my family.
That's
like
so nice.
Those feel so nurturing. So I think it's really just like you said, kind of sitting down, thinking about that with your family.
We value work so much, and I do too, but valuing rest is also just as important. It doesn't make you lazy. It doesn't make you, an unattentive person or coworker or parent. It means that you're valuing your own life, and you're allowing yourself to feel, like you said, like less irritable and more mindful about this one life that we have, and like those little flickers of joy. And for me, it's less multitasking and more just trying, even just one point in the day, trying to just focus. Right now I'm playing with my kids. That's it. Right now I'm making a meal. That's it. Because I think overscheduling and multitasking can rob us of those joys.
For sure. Well, there's so much more I want to chat with you about, but we are going to head to a commercial, and then we will dive into a little bit more about these amazing, conversations that we're hitting on after this short break. Welcome back to Flourish Flow. I'm your host, Amy Rohrer, joined today by Sara Carrigan. And I love what we were just chatting about kind of finding that rhythm, or having a rhythm that's not so rigid. And one thing I always try to remind myself of, doing that for myself, not over scheduling, taking time to slow down, is that my son is learning that from me. So I don't want to teach him that he has to be busy and achieving to be successful. I want him to have that modeled to him, that oh, mom, we take time to do yoga together, or, we don't have things booked every night of the week, because that's how eventually he's going to grow up too, right? So I'm really curious, since you kind of foster this rhythm in your own life with your kids, but then also in your homeschooling or the programs that you offer to families, what does that look like in a day when you kind of transition that concept to your education? What are the behaviors? What do you see? I'm just curious, and what a day looks like, and how the kids respond to that.
Yes, I really liked how you said about, letting your son see you relax or see you do something for yourself, because eventually they will get older and they'll feel like they can relax themselves.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And sometimes it's hard when they're little, like, oh, mom's taking forever reading her book, but slowly it becomes like, oh, okay, well, in this moment of boredom, I'm actually going to feel really inspired and creative. So I really liked what you said about that. So in our homeschool days, I really am inspired by the concept. It's like a Waldorf philosophy. So it's based a lot on like the arts, but also being outside a lot. And they have something called in-breaths and out-breaths. So we don't have a strict like schedule to our day, but there's definitely that flow where this is the order that the kids, they really like the predictability of the day. So we all get together. Maybe we're just, relaxing, playing, waiting for all of our friends to arrive. And then from there we have, a little morning circle to get to know, what did we do last night, and to kind of build that communication and that community. Then we have snack. And so an in-breath is kind of like we're all coming in together. We're doing something together. Maybe it's some handwork or like a craft or snack. And then you start to see the wiggles and you start to see like volumes getting louder. And then even for me, I can only sit still for so long before I need to move. And then we call it like an out breath. And that's always outside for us, rain, shine, like we are always outside. And you can just feel it. You can just feel the shift. And it might not necessarily be at the exact same time every day, but that's the rhythm. It's like the in breath and then the out breath. We come in for meals and chats and maybe some crafting or some more like fine motor, and then the out breath. And I kind of still follow that even on days that we're not doing the homeschool, just with our own family, even just for myself. There's always so much time that I can watch a show or read my book or talk on the phone before I need to move my body or move around the house doing chores or, getting some movement in my own day. So that's kind of, it's like breathing. I like that. Like in and out, which again, it's, when I'm feeling really overstimulated or my nervous system is off, we breathe. Yeah. And so the day is kind of like a constant in and out. That's kind of like how we follow it throughout the week, guided by the seasons. We try to like eat seasonally. We try to be outside doing seasonal activities. Again, living within our means. A lot of the things that we do as a family don't cost a lot of money because there has to be some kind of trade-off, especially in this economy.
Yes. I love that though. That's such an easy concept to try to apply, of like just watching when it seems like it's time to like shift to that out breath. And I think that's such a like applicable way that people can just kind of like try that out for the weekend.
Changing the environment, not necessarily the child. It's so easy to say, don't do that. But the children,
but just noticing that, okay, it's time to maybe get outside for a little bit. Sure. Yeah, I would imagine, with a group of children, it's harder than just one-on-one, but as a group, just kind of noticing when that shift is happening. And
usually as a couple, and then it's like you fall, the rest fall into place.
Yeah, that's great. Out of all of the new skills and things that you've learned, like you said, you guys have been able to try new things and grow vegetables and have chickens. Like, what's your favorite new skill that you've learned being in this new place?
I think for me, it is trying to do one task at a time. This is like a kind of something that I've really tried to challenge myself with, because as parents, as working people, as mothers, we're just really good at multitasking. And I still find myself doing several things at the same time. So as an interpersonal thing, I just really, when I'm cooking, I'm cooking. When I'm folding laundry, I'm folding laundry. Maybe my kids will come and help me. When I'm sitting on the floor playing, I try really hard to really just focus on one thing. And I feel like those little flickers of joy come in and pop in and out of my life more frequently. Yeah. When I'm not, I got everything done. But then like, what did I do for myself today? Or I missed that moment with my little guy because I was too worried about, returning this phone call or doing that extra load of laundry. Yeah. And I know it's not every day, all day. Some days you just have to get it done. Yeah. Some days you're just going to miss out on stuff. But I think for me, that was just trying really hard not to multitask all the time.
Yes. And it's amazing what's available when we're present. Yes. Yes. So to end, we're going to do something fun, a lightning round, just a few pop questions. Can't peek yet. She doesn't know the answers, folks, or the questions that are coming.
All right.
Your favorite way to spend a Sunday?
Ooh, well, before kids brunch, my husband and I used to always do brunch and then thrift shop. So now as our boys are getting older, we are starting to be able to do that again.
Yeah.
I really like to have like a leisurely morning. And then, I love thrift shop. I love going thrift shopping.
Me too.
Yeah.
Favorite holiday of the year?
Oh, probably Christmas.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me today. If people want to get in touch and learn more, connect with you, what would be the best place to do so?
Yeah, on Instagram is always a great spot. My handle is Woodfield Learning. I'm also on Facebook, so you'll see kind of what we're doing with the homeschool. I also post a lot on slowing down and simple living and just little tips and things that you can do to navigate that.
Definitely check her out. She's got lots of great resources. That is it for today, folks. May you continue to flourish and find your flow. Thanks for joining us.